Hey everyone, so yesterday we checked out the new crit item changes probably coming in 9.2 or sometime later. The reason we know that is because Riot accidentally leaked the patch notes for 9.1 and they aren't in it. That patch is coming out on the 8th of January. It all matches the PvE. They're all on holiday at the moment. So basically this is like seeing the patch notes 2 weeks early. We covered this stuff a few weeks ago, but some of it has changed now since then, and now we have a more final version, but I'll link the leak down below. I just want to point out as well, while you're watching this, keep an eye on it. We have two massive tank changes here. A bunch of AD carry buffs this patch and last patch, and Enchanter Sensor Redemption buffs last patch. So guess which meta might come back after all of that, especially if we get crit item changes after as well. The first change we're going to look at is Aurelian Soul. So his Q can be recast earlier. The lockout for that is 0.25 seconds instead of 0.65. It doesn't seem like that big of a change, but now he can actually deal with the melee matchups properly. Before, if he was jumped on by like a Z or something, there was nothing he could really do, whereas now he can stun them and then he can get some distance. It's pretty much the entire point of the change. It's a very simple change, to be honest. It just offers more protection and makes sure he has a better matchup versus some champs that want to dive on top of him. I wanted to point this out first because one, it wasn't in here before, and two, I think it actually make a fairly big difference as well, and we probably are going to see him a lot more. Turrets are also getting another round of changes. So last patch we had the and magic resist after the tower plating fell off, but now it's about the gold. So the range for local gold has been increased to 1,200, and there's a new part now. Champions within 2,500 range who assisted in the takedown now also count towards local gold. It seems like a small change, but it's something that you should probably know about moving forward because it can change how you play. So the range to get local gold has been increased, right? But the bigger part is the area around it to get gold if you got an assist that has been practically doubled. The idea is that if you're trying to give that gold to just like one person, it's much less likely to happen. I've had it bot lane a few times where my support ducks out and gives me the full gold. Very nice of them, by the way. So it's basically trying to stop that now and spread the gold out properly. Maybe one of the bigger changes this patch is going to be to Kalista though. So base AD growth, attack speed growth have all been increased, and your WO Swan AD bonus has been removed. Your Q damage has been increased. Your E, your Rend now deals 50% damage to objectives as well. This is a straight up buff, especially early game, by the way, which is awesome. Your Q damage is doubled rank 1, and you won't start maxing that for a while either. The reason that matters is because it's your only poke from range, but it's also a way to get Rend stacks in them if you can kill the minion in front with the Rend stacks in with your Q, sending them flying to the champion behind for a really good trade. You are losing 5 AD off your W to start the game, which eventually scales up to 25, but you're not really going to notice that until very late game anyway. You gain that 5 AD into your base, so it's perfectly fine, and you're gaining extra during the game as well. Honestly, the big part is probably getting our attack speed per level buffed, which should make everything feel so much better. I want to have a look at Jinx as well because this change is really cool. So your W cast time, your zap cast time now scales with attack speed. The cast time is 0.6 to 0.4 seconds, including the bonus from your Q minigun, the attack speed from that. It's a really cool change I would like to see for a lot of different AD carries, honestly. Late game, it feels a little bit bad to use abilities because our auto attacks do so much damage. This means though, now that even late game, when we have loads of attack speed, loads of crit and stuff, we can use it in a team fight properly. It does a lot of damage, but the slow is probably going to be able to help us out way more and help us kite people. Genuinely, the biggest change from this patch is probably to Nasus. His Q stacks from large kills increase, so champions, large minions, and monsters grant 12 instead of 6 stacks. These are in the patch notes for 9.1, so here comes a huge influx of Nasus players as soon as the patch drops. It's kind of funny, but Riot's legitimate argument, by the way, is that lower elo players miss CS more often, so giving them more stacks isn't going to be that big of an issue anyway because they won't get as many of the cannons. I'm not sure I think that is exactly true for Nasus, but especially right now, cannons spawn more often, eventually spawning every single wave. Once you hit that point in the game, Nasus will go into stacking overdrive and be able to rack up some insane numbers. The other thing is jungle. You get a lot of stacks now in the jungle with a large monster chain, and it's way more viable. This is probably the biggest single change in the entire of 9.1, but if that isn't, then it's probably going to be to Vayne. When Vayne ults, so tumble cooldown will be half as long. Vayne is already a decent choice right now, I feel like, but the main issue is the lane phase. With plates, it's a bit rougher if you can't win your lane or you get bullied a bit too hard. This just makes the payoff for that lane phase way better though. Tumble is actually a lot of damage, so it's boosting that part. It's giving you more stealth and more chances to juke and dodge and reposition. It's also letting you more freely max your W first, which is deals way more damage because in team fights you're going to have a low cooldown tumble anyway, so you don't really have to max that and you can get away with it a bit more. When you do finally max your Q though, you'll have a 1 second tumble cooldown. I'm not even joking. It goes down to 2 seconds rank 5. That's going to half into 1. Pretty much you tumble, you auto attack, and then you can tumble again and get more stealth. It's actually insane. I have no doubt the low elo and high elo probably will be taken over by Vayne and Nasus players after this patch. We do also have too many reworks in here. Maybe better call them adjustments or readjustments or something, but they're pretty different. So Ornn is the first one. There are loads of different changes. But the idea is that they want to make his lane phase weaker and make his ultimate a little less impactful, but to make sure he's not completely useless with that, they're buffing up his passive. Having a free upgrade system means there is literally no downside now at all, and it's just a straight up power boost for him and his teammates when he does get to that point in the game. Before, it was honestly barely used really. You didn't really upgrade your items until very late game, and if anything, it was a bit of a noob trap, to be honest. It looks really nice, right, having extra stats and upgraded version, but putting money into other items was usually going to be better. Gameplay wise, the biggest thing for Ornn specifically is probably that his W has no shield but is unstoppable again, and also the brittle damage from that is actually way higher. It was 7 to 12%, but it's now going to be 12 to 20.5%. 20% of somebody's max health in a late game team fight. That seems ridiculous to me, especially versus a tank. Actually, you want to nuke them down. That is just balancing out the rest of it though, honestly. Like with his ultimate, it will knock up for 1 second now on the first person and 0.5 for everybody else it hits afterwards, instead of 1.5 for all, which is actually a pretty big hit to his initiation. The other tank change we have is to Sejuani. There are loads of different things as well here, but this is a pretty similar thing to Ornn in a way, taking some tankiness and crowd control out and then adding in more damage, which makes her better on her own. The damage is up on all of her spells, but the biggest one is definitely her E, which is her stun. It's double to start with and then more than double at the end of the game. She is going to be tankier in general, but just weaker as she first dives into a fight, absorbing that initial few hits with her passive. The good part for Sejuani is that passive is now going to linger for 3 seconds instead of 2, so ideally when you play against her, you would want to kite for that time and then use everything to kill her afterwards, but 3 seconds is quite a long time to wait. I would expect to see a lot more Sejuani after this because she has the engage still. She's an amazing team fighter, but she can actually duel people now, especially if she builds red smite with all the damage that she brings. Let's go back into some AD carries. So Sivir has a few champion hits don't reduce your Q damage anymore, and maybe will have a W bounce damage increase by 5%. The W bounce damage wasn't in the 9.1 notes, but it is on the PvE, so they might add that, or they just might have decided to leave it out. Either way, the Q is kind of cool if you hit loads of champions with the same one, but honestly, how many times in a game is that going to happen? Probably 0. I thought this meant that you could fire it through minions and do full damage to champions, which would have been amazing and pretty broken, but that's not how it works. All it's saying is that if you hit a champion first with your Q, that hit won't reduce the next hits like it did before. So if you hit 5 champions in a team fight with 1 Q, that'll be a massive boost in damage, but how often is that going to happen? Ashe is another AD carry. It's a small quality of life thing, really. Her E, her Hawk Shot, is going to grant assists if enemies were previously unseen. I know this sounds a little bit dumb, but this might help a little bit more than we think. So the Caitlyn ult range is a good example, right? That helped a lot because it meant I'm getting way more assists and kills than I was before, which is just more gold. This Ashe change is a similar deal. Scout someone out, get a bit more gold. It might only happen a few times a game, but that is still maybe a kill's worth of gold over it, and it's not bad at all. Zyra is the final champion and AD carry change that we have, so E-root duration increased. It's nice and everything, but Zyra is not that bad right now. She just has an insane learning curve. This is good for the extra setup, and I guess that might mean you get 1 more auto attack in on them before they can move again. Especially late game, that 1 more auto with your W active is going to seriously hurt, so it's not a bad change at all. Let's have a look at runes. So Halo Blaze is getting a change here. It's basically the attack speed bonus higher early but lower late game, and the attack resets no longer consume a stack. This might actually work for a few champions now, maybe even some AD carries. If you can burst with auto attacks, it's a very weird idea, right? Burst and auto attacks together, but imagine a Master Yi, right? Burst at the start by getting a bunch of hits off. Maybe even a Vayne could do the same with her Silver Bolts, or Darius could use this more now with the auto resets not counting like his W and get a lot of bleed stacks. It might not seem like a big change, but having 35% more attack speed level 1 on this is actually pretty insane. That's as much attack speed as Berserker Greaves give you, like the boost. Speaking of attack speed, the attack speed shard has been increased by 1%. It's a very small change just because the attack speed wasn't really enough in here. It's a little bump to start the game if you're going to take it. Moving on to another rune, a Celerity. The move speed bonus has been increased by 2%. extent, this rune is mega niche. Now, though, only a few champions can really take it. Like, if you've got some built-in move speed. Draven, for example, could use it with his W, but absolute power is more damage. It's the same with Sivir, right? It's a really good rune on her, but you actually want some damage. So now it's a choice between move faster, do more, and I think more champions want more damage. I'm actually very curious, though. Some champions like Hecarim, this is great on, by the way, but what champions do you actually still run this on? Let me know down below. Shield Bash is getting its damage increase this patch as well. It's another niche rune, though, that works well on some, but not on others. Like, Galio right now is really good because you get permanent armor and magic resist with your shield, plus a damage boost as well, and a Maud is the same. So a couple of other things, starting with funneling, our favorite little thing, right? Unenchanted jungle items now reduce gold from minions if their owner has too much minion gold. It reduces it by 10 per minion if gold from minions is more than half of their gold from monsters. This is killing off funnel at this patch and smite laners as well. If you've been farming a lane but have a jungle enchant, then you'll get reduced gold from every single minion you take. Well, it doesn't work quite like that, actually. This will only happen if their gold from minions is more than half from monsters. So if you have 1,000 gold earned from monsters in the jungle, you'll need 500 plus from minions to trigger it. That's actually kind of difficult, and for a normal jungler, you can go and tax a lane and you'll be fine. But if you're taking it on a laner, for example, it won't work. So that is an early look into 9.1. Thank you to Riot for the lovely leak that we had for the patch notes. Thanks for watching the video, and for now, I will leave you with the robots.